Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we are doing a deep dive into something massive, complex, and just incredibly structured. The International Baccalaureate, or IB system. But we aren't using the usual sources. We're actually dissecting the architecture of the entire program as seen through the operational logs of this powerful AI.
Yeah, the IB GPT.
Exactly. A tool that's been designed to master and really automate every single rule, nuance, and structural piece of the entire IB continuum.
And what's so fascinating here is that this isn't just, a library of documents.
Right.
It actually reveals the high-fidelity shortcut to understanding how a system this big, this global, maintains its integrity.
A blueprint.
The full spectrum blueprint, yeah. And it helps four really distinct and essential groups in the IB world. You've got the teachers delivering it, the students engaging with it, the examiners who had to keep it all consistent globally.
And leadership.
And critically, yeah, the evaluators and school leadership, they're the ones who have to manage the entire institution to these incredibly rigorous standards.
That's right. So our mission today is for you, the learner. If you need that high-level briefing, a total map of the whole IB system, PYP, MYP, DP, CP, we're going to extract the key pedagogical secrets, the administrative genius that makes it all tick.
And it's all coming from the exact demands placed on this AI. We're seeing not just what the IB is, but how it's all held together.
So let's start with the sheer scope of this tool. If
Yeah.
you want to understand the IB, you have to get the administrative weight it carries. The AI's whole capability is defined by 100 serialized tasks, all categorized, what, A through D?
Yep, A through D. And that structure itself tells you something right away.
What's that?
That the success of the whole IB philosophy, the inquiry, the critical thinking, the global context,
Yeah.
all of that relies entirely on this really high-level administrative and procedural coordination.
It's the foundation.
That coordination is everything. I mean, look at Category A, tasks 1 through 30. It's all focused on the teacher. But we're not talking about, simple attendance sheets or something. We're looking at the tasks that define the deep intellectual labor of teaching in this specific system.
Okay, let's look at the planning and design part first. So tasks 1 through 10. The AI here is acting like a master curriculum architect. It's ready to generate unit plans, that's task 1, that are perfectly aligned with the subject briefs.
But it gets complex really fast. It's not just a single unit plan. You're talking about mapping the approaches to learning skills. The ATL skills, that's task 2.
And drafting those big statements of inquiry, task 5.
And that takes us to task 6, which is, it's maybe one of the best examples of the whole continuum philosophy.
It is.
Creating vertical and horizontal articulation maps.
Okay, unpack that. Let's start with a vertical articulation. Give us a practical example.
Certainly. So think about a skill like research. It's a core ATL skill. In the primary years program, the PYP, a little kid might be learning a foundational skill, like how to use a book index or do a really simple online search, just gathering. By the time they hit the MYP, that skill has vertically articulated. Now they have to process and evaluate that information for reliability, for bias, especially for their personal project.
And then the DP.
Then the diploma program. That same student is now expected to independently manage a 4,000-word research project. The extended essay, synthesizing all these diverse, sometimes conflicting academic sources. The AI's job is to guarantee that progression is explicitly documented for every teacher in every subject.
Wow. So it stops being these separate blocks of school and becomes one continuous building process. What about horizontal articulation?
Horizontal is about alignment across subjects in the same grade level. It stops siloed learning. So for example, if a 10th grade science class is studying the global context of, say, scientific and technical innovation through the lens of sustainability, then the individuals in societies class, so history or geography, in that same year has to make sure their unit plans reflect that same conceptual language. Maybe they're looking at the societal impact of the Industrial Revolution. It reinforces that big ideas like sustainability or systems, they don't just live in one subject.
The level of consistency required is just immense. So moving to assessment design, tasks 21 through 30, these feel administrative, but they're all about quality control. We noted task 21, providing task-specific clarifications for rubrics.
And this is so critical for transparency. The IB uses these generic criterion-based rubrics, criteria A, B, C, D.
Right.
A task-specific clarification translates that abstract criterion like, say, demonstrates excellent critical thinking to things you can actually see and measure, specific to a geography essay or a math investigation or a drama performance. The AI generates that extra layer of interpretation, and it just removes all the ambiguity for the student.
And task 25, this is quality control among the teachers. Generating moderation notes for internal standardization. This is where you have to check human judgment before it ever goes external.
Exactly. Just imagine a school with like 5 grade 10 English teachers.
Yeah.
They're all marking the same assignment. Without standardization, teacher 1 might give a script a 7, and teacher 5 could give that exact same piece of work a 5.
That's a huge difference.
It is. So these moderation notes, they force a shared understanding.
Right.
The AI gives standardized feedback and a rationale for sample scripts, and the teachers use that to align their judgments. And that doesn't just improve the grading, it actually improves the teaching, because everyone gets a clearer picture of what high-level work actually looks like.
This is where it gets really, really interesting for me, though. When the AI starts supporting the integrity of the assessment process outside the school. Category C, support for examiners, tasks 61 to 80. This is about maintaining global standards for hundreds of thousands of student scripts.
Yeah, the examiner network is the absolute backbone of the diploma's global value. So the AI helps them by providing model answers for their standardization training, that's task 61. And it generates marking rationales for these really complex, ambiguous student responses, which is task 63. It's a quality assurance layer designed to manage, the huge variability of human interpretation.
Task 80 really stands out here,
Yeah.
supporting consistency checks across exam sessions. Why is that so hard that you'd need an AI for it?
Well, because of the high stakes and just the passage of time. The IB diploma is a passport to universities all over the world. Its value depends on a level 6 in DP economics this year, meaning the exact same thing it meant 5 years ago.
Despite new examiners, new curriculum.
Exactly, despite all of that.
Yeah.
So maintaining that intersession reliability, making sure the grade boundaries and the intellectual expectations haven't drifted, it's incredibly difficult. It requires massive data comparison and some really subtle statistical analysis. The AI manages that long-term drift. It protects the currency of the diploma.
That complexity really just highlights the sheer scale of the administration. So finally, let's look at Category D support for leadership and evaluators. Tasks 81 to 100. This is the strategic layer, right? Whole school compliance and improvement.
This is the compliance engine. School leaders spend a huge amount of energy preparing for those official IB evaluation visits that happen every 5 years. The AI helps draft the evidence statements for the reports, that's 82, and it gives them ready-made templates for all the self-study documentation.
Right.
Leaders aren't just teaching the IB philosophy, they have to prove they adhere to hundreds of standards and practices across 4 different programs.
It sounds like the AI is basically the ultimate auditor and strategist. It finds the gaps and then provides the solutions.
Absolutely. Tasks 85 and 86 are the essence of strategic management, suggesting targeted strategies to strengthen implementation and structuring the school's 5-year action plans. For instance, if the AI detects that student reflection on their CAS activities is consistently weak,
Okay, so it flags a problem.
it doesn't just flag it. It will immediately design professional development session outlines task 91, specifically on how to embed reflection activities into daily classroom practice. It maps mastery for the entire institution, not just one classroom.
That detailed look at the AI's functions really sets the scene, but now we need to provide that foundational map for our listener. The AB isn't just a bunch of courses. It's a systematic progression. It's a continuum.
Right. And if you understand the progression of skills, you understand the whole system.
So this continuum concept from age 3 to 19, that's the core idea.
It's non-negotiable. Every stage is designed to prepare the student for what comes next. That's what guarantees that DP students don't suddenly hit this massive academic wall. The skills have been built systematically since they were little kids.
Okay, let's start at the beginning then. The primary years program, the PYP, ages 3 to 12. What defines this stage, philosophically and structurally?
The PYP is defined by one key term: transdisciplinary inquiry.
Transdisciplinary.
Yeah, it deliberately avoids teaching in isolated subject buckets. Instead, all the learning is organized around 6 transdisciplinary themes. This is where students learn to connect knowledge, not compartmentalize it.
Okay, so let's list those themes again because they really define everything. Who we are, where we are in place and time.
How we express ourselves, how the world works, how we organize ourselves, and sharing the planet.
So every unit, whether it's got math in it or language or science, it lives inside one of those big conceptual containers.
Exactly. A unit on how the world works might involve science, like simple machines, but also design, building models, and language, like researching historical inventions, all together.
And the assessment at this stage is totally different, right? It's school-based, so it's more about observation and projects.
Correct. And the absolute pinnacle of this stage of learning is the compulsory PYP exhibition, or PYPX, usually in grade
You have
5.
a big one.
It's a massive inquiry project. Students, usually in small groups, investigate a real-world issue under one of those themes. It forces them to synthesize all their learning, take some kind of action in their community, and then present their findings publicly. It's a deep dive into problem solving, not just memorizing facts.
Okay, so moving up. The middle years program, the MYP, ages 11 to 16. If PYP is about exploration, what's MYP?
The MYP is absolutely the bridge. It keeps that concept-based learning and inquiry at the center, but it starts to impose more structure. It introduces 8 specific subject groups that are studied every single year, including things like design and the arts, so you get this really broad foundation.
And this is where the ATL skills really come into focus.
Crucially, yes. The approaches to learning skills, communication, thinking, research, and so on, they become the explicit language of instruction in the MYP.
And the assessment here is the first real taste of that IB rigor with the criterion-based system. Can you clarify how using those criteria A through D, marked 1 to 8, is different from, a normal percentage grade?
This is a really critical distinction. A traditional system usually gives you points for being correct. Get 80% right, you get a B.
Sure.
Criterion-based assessment, though, evaluates your mastery of specific skills, no matter the topic. So criteria A, B, C, and D, they stay the same across different units. For example, in a history class, criterion A might be knowing and understanding, while criterion D is using language and communication.
So you can know all the facts, but be bad at writing an essay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You get a high score in criterion A, but a low score in D. The marks are reported separately, which gives you this high-fidelity map of your strengths and weaknesses in skill demonstration. And that's way more useful than just a single overall score.
That completely shifts the focus from just absorbing content to actually performing skills. Okay, now, the pinnacle. The diploma program, the DP, ages 16 to 19. This is the rigorous academic heart of the IB.
The DP is highly structured pre-university prep. Students take 6 subjects, 3 at higher level, or HL, and 3 at standard level, SL. The HL courses are 240 hours of teaching, requiring much more depth and breadth than the 150 hours for SL.
So you can specialize?
It lets students specialize intensely in 3 areas while still keeping that breadth across the others.
And then there's the famous DP Core Theory of Knowledge, TOK, the Extended Essay, EE, and Creativity Activity Service, CAS. Why are these required? What's their purpose beyond just adding more work?
They exist to stop over-specialization and to foster global citizenship and intellectual honesty. TOK Theory of Knowledge, it forces students to step back and ask, how do I actually know this is true?
Wow.
It makes them analyze the biases and assumptions in different fields of knowledge science versus history versus art. And the extended essay, that 4,000-word research project, that's the ultimate exercise in scholarly independence. It teaches them the discipline of real academic research.
What about CAS? That one always seemed the least academic.
CAS is all about balance. It requires 18 months of documented, reflective engagement in things outside the classroom. And it's not just community service, it's focused on experiential learning that develops personal and interpersonal skills. If the EE is the peak of academic discipline, CAS is the peak of reflective, active citizenship. It teaches students that learning goes way beyond grades.
And finally, there's the career-related program, the CP, also for that 16 to 19 age group. This one's for students with a clearer vocational path.
The CP is fantastic. It intelligently blends academic rigor with career relevance. Students take at least 2 full DP courses, so they get that academic grounding, but they do it alongside a career-related study, like hospitality or engineering or IT.
And its core is tailored, too.
Exactly. It focuses on things like personal and professional skills, and it culminates in the externally assessed reflective project, where they have to explore an ethical dilemma related to their chosen career field. It makes sure academic skills are applied directly to a professional context.
Okay, that gives us the structural map. Let's move into the engine room, the pedagogy that the AI is built to support. We're looking now at instructional support, tasks 11 to 20, and student learning support, tasks 31 to 40. This is the daily application of the philosophy.
Well, the foundation, as we said, is inquiry-based learning. And the AI, in task 11, is tasked with making that tangible.
Right.
It means designing lessons where the teacher isn't just delivering answers, but they're orchestrating this journey of discovery.
Yeah.
The GPT provides strategies like setting up powerful provocations, a surprising statistic, a contradictory source, a short video, something that forces the student to immediately ask the core question themselves.
That's a huge shift from traditional teaching. And Task 12 immediately hits on the reality of every single classroom. Differentiation for mixed ability groups.
Differentiation isn't just a suggestion in the IB, it's a standard of practice. And the AI provides structured solutions, like tiered assignments. The key here is that all the students are aiming for the same conceptual objective, but their path to get there is tailored.
So some students might be analyzing a really dense primary source document.
While others might analyze a simplified secondary source on the same topic. But both groups are learning about the concept of historical bias.
And how do choice boards fit into that?
Choice boards are all about giving students autonomy and catering to different learning styles. The AI might generate a board where students have to complete, say, 3 tasks out of 9 to show they understand something. One task could be a visual infographic, another a persuasive essay, and a third a peer teaching session. It lets high achievers push themselves while providing scaffolding for those who need more structure.
Supporting diverse learners is another critical area. Task 13 focuses on multilingual support. We mentioned translanguaging. Let's dig into why that idea is so powerful for students learning in a second language.
Translanguaging is powerful because it sees the student's entire linguistic repertoire as an asset, not a deficit. If a student's learning physics in English, they might struggle with all the complex academic vocabulary. Translanguaging lets them use their native language as a cognitive bridge to discuss, reflect, or draft ideas in their first language before they translate and finalize their academic work in English.
So the AI would help with that.
Yeah, the AI supports this by generating instructions and resources with integrated first language keywords or visual aids. It makes sure that conceptual understanding isn't being blocked by a language barrier.
And this extends to students with defined learning needs, which is Task 20.
The AI is very prescriptive here because inclusion has to be systematic. It recommends specific accommodations based on the student's documented need. So that means generating chunked instructions for students with processing speed issues, or adapting the reading level of complex texts, or creating graphic organizers that basically externalize the internal structure of a research essay. It makes inclusion practical.
So if inquiry is the method, then reflection and skill development are the required outputs. Let's talk about reflection prompts, Task 15, and the ATL-based engagements, Task 16.
Right. Reflection in the IB isn't just, writing in a journal. It's metacognition. The AI generates prompts that guide students to think about how they learned, not just what they learned.
Like what?
The questions might be, what research strategy did you use that saved you the most time? Or, if you had to do this group project again, what would you change about your collaboration method? It turns learning into a feedback loop for improvement.
And the ATL-based learning engagements, Task 16, that's about making sure those essential skills, communication, collaboration are always embedded right within the subject unit.
Yes. The AI makes sure that skill development is seamless. For a history unit on war, the AI might suggest a jigsaw activity where students each become an expert on a different aspect of a conflict and then they have to teach their peers. So they're building research and communication skills at the same time.
Which is way more effective than a separate lesson on how to collaborate.
Exactly. The skill is practiced in a high-stakes, relevant context.
Okay, now let's move to the student support side, tasks 31 to 40. This is super relevant for our learner persona who wants clear knowledge fast. Task 40 is fascinating. Managing cognitive load. Given how rigorous the DP is, how does the AI specifically help reduce that feeling of being overwhelmed?
Well, cognitive load is the enemy of deep learning. When a student is overwhelmed, they can only process surface-level stuff. So the AI solves this by acting as a kind of cognitive organizer.
Okay.
It generates simplified outlines for huge projects. It breaks essay tasks down into micro steps. First, the outline, then the first draft of paragraph 1, then a feedback loop, then the final draft. It gives them visual flowcharts for managing all the DP core requirements. This makes sure that the student is spending their mental energy on analysis and critical thinking, not just on managing the logistics of the workload.
And Task 31 tackles clarity head-on, explaining abstract concepts using everyday examples and analogies.
This is a huge one. If the concept is abstract utility theory in economics, which we'll get to, the AI provides the analogy of eating pizza slices. If the concept is a paradigm shift in TOK, The AI might compare it to the sudden switch from physical books to e-readers. It's like a perpetual translator between the academic theory and the student's own lived experience.
And tying this back to the assessment rigor, Task 35 allows students to request customized practice questions. This is personalized, relevant, and super efficient practice.
Exactly. It goes way beyond generic test prep. If a student really struggled with the evaluate command term in their last history essay, they can ask for 10 practice questions focused only on evaluate the effectiveness of UN intervention in post-conflict states. It hyper-focuses their revision right where they need it most.
Now we get to use the extensive DP economics material from the sources to show the system's depth and rigor in action. This subject really maps out the structure of a full, high-stakes DP course perfectly.
DP economics is built around 4 major mandated units that cover the whole breadth of modern economic thought. Microeconomics, so individual markets. Macroeconomics, national economies. International economics, trade and globalization. And development economics, which is poverty, inequality, and growth. This map ensures the student gets a holistic view of the global economy.
And we have the textbook blueprint for microeconomics, and it is incredibly dense. It covers everything from foundational demand theory and the law of demand,
Incorporating utility and diminishing marginal utility.
right through to these complex market structures.
Yeah, it's a complete academic foundation designed for university-level preparedness. The notes cover the technical stuff like elasticity's price, income cross price, and the real-world applications of market failure, where the market just breaks down, like with pollution or public goods. It requires real analytical mastery.
And this is best shown by a specific lesson plan, lesson 11 on consumer choice theory, focusing on utility. The AI doesn't just list objectives, it provides an entire pedagogical flow that turns this abstract concept into a real embodied experience.
This lesson's whole goal is for students to define utility, which is just satisfaction, and explain the law of diminishing marginal utility,
Which is?
the principle that your satisfaction falls with each extra unit you consume. The content is so dry on the page, but the pedagogy makes it real.
And the activity for this is the famous chocolate bar experiment. Let's walk our listener through that.
This is just brilliant inquiry design. The concept of a util, a hypothetical unit of satisfaction, is totally abstract. So to make it concrete, the teacher gives each student, say, 4 individually wrapped pieces of chocolate.
Okay, I'm with you.
The students are told to eat them one at a time, and right after each piece, rate their satisfaction on a scale of 1 to 100 utils.
So that first piece, when you're hungry, that's maybe a score of 95 utils. High satisfaction.
Exactly. That's your total utility from the first unit, and it's also your marginal utility. The second piece is still good, but it doesn't have that same punch. The student might rate it 80 utils. The marginal utility, the extra satisfaction from that specific piece, has dropped from 95 to 80.
And by the time they get to the fourth piece,
They're full, or maybe even a little sick of chocolate. They might rate that fourth piece at only 10 utils.
they're literally empirically experiencing the theory in real time. They can plot their own utility curve.
That's the pedagogical magic. They own the data. Then, the lesson smoothly transitions into the conceptual link to the law of demand. Since the satisfaction, the marginal utility, from each extra unit is falling, the only way a consumer would be willing to buy that third or fourth unit is if the price is a lot lower.
The falling price compensates for the falling satisfaction. That establishes diminishing marginal utility as the actual behavioral reason why the demand curve slopes downward.
It's an intellectual light bulb moment. It connects human behavior directly to the mathematical model, which is the hallmark of concept-based learning. And what's more, the lesson anticipates common mistakes.
Like the difference between usefulness and utility.
Precisely. Students always mix those two up. The notes explicitly clarify that while water has high usefulness for survival, a rare diamond has high utility as a status symbol or a store of wealth, and that's what drives its price and demand. The AI makes sure the teachers prepare to address that nuance, which is vital for high-level DP analysis.
So what does this all mean for the learning process? It really reinforces the practical power of Task 35, those customized practice questions. Practice is no longer just a general thing to do, it's a targeted intervention.
It becomes hyper-focused. Think about the IB's obsession with command terms, the verb at the start of the question that dictates how you have to structure your answer. Students struggle so much with the shift from define, which is just recall, to explain, which is cause and effect, to evaluate, which requires high-level judgment.
And the AI can generate questions customized by that specific command term.
Absolutely. A student can ask the AI, Generate 5 DP economics questions on market failure, difficulty level 4, focusing on the command term evaluate. The AI understands that evaluate requires two sides of an argument, evidence, and a final nuanced judgment, and it generates a prompt that demands exactly that structure.
And it provides more than just the question. It gives the whole breakdown of what a top-level response looks like.
Which is the true value. It gives you the question, it explains the specific demands of the command term, it gives the difficulty marker, it provides the detailed marking guide for the teacher or for self-assessment, and it outlines the essential parts of a level 7 response. It ensures that every single moment of practice is perfectly aligned to the exact non-negotiable standards of the external examiners.
Okay, so moving from lesson design and tailored practice to the absolute pinnacle of rigor, let's talk about the creation of the 200 critical thinking questions, the CTQs. This really shows the system's commitment to not just content mastery, but sophisticated, high-level analysis.
The CTQs are essential. They represent the level of analysis you need to succeed in the DP. These are not factual questions. They are complex, evaluative prompts that force students to argue multiple sides of an issue, use economic models as evidence, and then arrive at a reasoned judgment. The sources show 2 full sets of 100 questions, all grouped logically.
They push students so far beyond the textbook. I'm thinking of examples like, should governments prioritize growth over equity? That's not a simple yes or no answer.
No, it's a deep ethical and macroeconomic debate. It requires the student to define both terms, to introduce trade-offs, to use different economic models, analyze the consequences of each priority, and then deliver a nuanced, context-dependent conclusion.
Or that really nuanced one about market structures. Is tacit collusion more dangerous than explicit collusion?
That's pure high-level analysis. Explicit collusion, where firms openly agree on prices, is illegal and easier for regulators to prosecute. Tacit collusion, where firms just understand each other's incentives and follow suit without ever talking, that's often harder to prove, and therefore much more insidious. It could lead to long-term consumer harm. The student has to analyze the regulatory difficulty and the market outcomes of each.
And the value here, again, isn't just the question. It's that the system provides these concise model answer outlines.
And that outline is the shortcut to structured high achievement. It trains the student to adopt the IB assessment mindset. For an evaluate CPQ, the outline dictates. Start with a clear, argumentative thesis. Structure your analysis into arguments for, supported by theory, arguments against, supported by counterexamples, and end with a synthesized judgmental conclusion that answers the to what extent part of the question. The AI provides the template for sophistication.
Now we have to transition from student rigor to institutional quality control, the supervisor panel. This is the core of quality assurance and leadership support. Who ensures the school is structurally ready to deliver this integrity?
This panel is the strategic planning tool. It focuses on several key domains of control, managing the logistical complexity of running multiple IB programs at once. We see specific domains like assessment quality and standardization, which make sure internal assessments are valid, and curriculum coherence, which mandates that those vertical and horizontal maps are actually being followed.
And professional development is a big one, task 80. It's not enough to just hire good teachers. They have to continuously align with IB pedagogy.
Exactly. And the AI provides diagnostic tools. If an evaluation suggests the TOK course is weak, the AI can immediately generate a 5-day PD session outline for the TOK coordinator, complete with materials, activities, and success criteria. It turns an institutional weakness into a defined, manageable project.
One of the most telling documents in the source material is about the ultimate commitment to quality, the QA visit simulation tool. This is a practice run for the actual high-stakes IB evaluation visit.
This shows an incredible commitment to rigor. It's a structured rehearsal designed to replicate the pressure and scrutiny of a real evaluation visit. The leadership team is taken through 5 distinct modules, starting with a pre-visit documentation audit.
So they make sure every single policy, unit plan, and assessment record is ready for inspection.
And the simulation is incredibly rigorous. It uses checklists for required documents and clear red flags.
Can you give us an example of a red flag the AI helps them spot?
A critical red flag might be inconsistency in assessment policy, for example. Are the school's academic integrity policies aligned across the MYP and the DP? If punishment for cheating is different between the two programs, that's a red flag. Or if half the unit plans are missing a clear reflection component. The AI forces them to self-diagnose these pitfalls before the official visit.
And conversely, it provides clear success indicators.
Right. A key success indicator is the accessibility evidence. If an evaluator asks about the school's multilingual support policy, the success indicator isn't just having the document, but having it linked directly to examples of scaffolding in 3 different subject departments. This process ensures institutional quality is proven, not just assumed. It guarantees the school is always evaluation ready.
We've seen the 100 support tasks, the full continuum, the detailed pedagogy, the high-level quality control. The whole operational architecture of the IB seems to culminate in these streamlined interfaces that capture all of this functionality.
The existence of these tailored comprehensive command panels for the teacher, student, and supervisor, it's the ultimate proof that the IB system, when mapped by AI, becomes this highly efficient, transparent, and manageable educational framework. The dual panel just synthesizes everything into 150 actionable prompts.
So focusing first on the teacher actions, 1 to 75, these are all about rapidly generating content, planning, and ensuring compliance, which frees up teacher time for actual mentorship.
Teachers need speed and certainty. The prompts cover the full scope of their professional life. They range from create a full lesson plan for this topic, integrating ATL skills, which is task 16, to tasks ensuring systemic coherence, like show vertical alignment from PYP to MYP to DP for the skill of self-management.
Wow.
Even handles crucial assessment tasks like mark my student's answer using IB criteria and generate a detailed rationale for the mark awarded. It just lets the teacher quickly provide high-quality, standardized feedback.
And the student actions, 76 to 150, they completely support self-directed learning. This is where the power really shifts to the learner, giving them autonomy over their own knowledge acquisition path.
These prompts empower the learner directly to manage their cognitive load, to address their own deficits. They include foundational needs like explain this topic so I can understand it easily using a real-world analogy, that's task 76, and quiz me on this topic using DP command terms, focusing on my weakest area.
But the real power is in supporting those high-stakes core components.
Absolutely. Students can engage the AI for detailed support on their major projects. They can ask it to check my answer and tell me what criteria I need to improve, specifically focusing on criterion D organization. Or, critically for the DP core, help me choose an IA topic for my Math HL course, suggesting 3 possible research questions and the required methodologies. It was the student from being a passive recipient to an active manager of their own learning journey.
So the ultimate conclusion of all this content is that every single person in the IB ecosystem, from a 5-year-old preparing for the PYPX to a veteran coordinator preparing for an evaluation, has a defined, supported, and quality-controlled path to excellence built right into this blueprint.
It confirms the system's commitment not to complexity, but to consistency. The administrative and pedagogical complexity of the IB is managed not by simplifying the academic demands, but by ensuring that high-quality, perfectly aligned, criteria-based resources are instantaneously available across every single role. The AI just forces transparency and alignment.
We started with a complex set of documents describing an AI tool, and we've ended with a complete blueprint of the entire IB continuum. Its pedagogy, its assessment rigor, its institutional requirements. We've learned that the secret to the IB's success is its almost maniacal focus on consistency and alignment across the entire student journey.
Yeah, and we could connect this to the bigger picture. The sophistication of these support tools confirms that the IB model is less about the specific facts being taught and profoundly more about consistency, alignment, and the systematic development of deep conceptual and critical thinking.
For everyone involved.
Whether you're a student preparing for an essay or a school leader auditing evidence for an evaluation.
And that leads us to a final thought for you, the learner. This raises an important question, doesn't it? Given the incredible level of efficiency and structure possible through systems like this, generating lesson plans, rubrics, critical thinking questions instantly, how much of that administrative and planning time can we truly free up for the human element of teaching? Specifically, for that deep, personalized conceptual mentorship, the ethical guidance, the emotional support, the kind of nuanced relational guidance that no AI system can truly replicate, something for you to mull or explore on your own.